Good afternoon and welcome to NFTs Live. I'm your host, Tyler D, and it is Friday, February 25th. Before we begin today, I do want to acknowledge that overall it's been a somber and saddening week as Russia invaded Ukraine late Wednesday evening and a full-out ground war has begun. It's certainly been difficult to talk NFTs and JPEGs because, of course, there are more important things going on in the world right now and millions of people's lives have been disrupted. But with that said, people across the world are still showing up to work today, and NFTs are important for a lot of people's livelihoods at this current time. So the show goes on. On a lighter note, after a pretty big scare in the markets yesterday, NFTs are back, and we're seeing some green on the board. I've got Brett Richey on with me today to break it all down. Brett, how you doing?
Doing good, Tyler. Thank you for having me. Let's get to it.
Let's do it. So quick preview of what we got on the docket today. We're going to start with the overall macro bear and then rebound, and then cover some bear market tips. We're going to hit Invisible Friends, then the Punks debacle at Sotheby's. We're going to talk the latest ape token rumors. Then we'll get into our rotating segments. We'll take a look at the market movers from the week. And one of ones, we're going to talk ACK and Grant Yoon. Then we'll hit the floors for PFPs and art blocks. And then we'll end the show with a few upcoming drops. Sound good?
Let's do it.
Let's get into it. So we're going to start with the overall macro picture of the market. So I'm showing a tweet from NFTs Live that we tweeted out yesterday morning. I want to pull up what the 24-hour board looked like yesterday. So as we woke up, essentially to the Russia news, the entire NFT market kind of grinded to a halt. And we saw a lot of kind of quick dumping and folks trying to, exiting projects. So it's pretty much red across the board, 10 to 20% drops nearly universally for all the projects. But then as the day went on, we had the Biden address in the early afternoon, seemed to spark the equity markets and the crypto markets as well. And then the NFTs seemed to follow behind there late into the evening and the overnight hours. And then when we woke up to absolutely a sea of green on the board. So pretty much universally across all the projects, we saw a 10% to 30% bounce back here today. I guess I've got a decent amount to unpack here, and there's a lot that's going into this. I guess first question, Brett, were you surprised by the drop yesterday? And then were you surprised with how quickly it's rebounded?
Not really on either. I mean, war is like, I guess a sobering kind of event. And so it makes sense that like one, markets are kind of scared, but then it's like people are like, okay, I'm like seeing these tanks going in. Maybe I don't need to buy this cartoon JPEG right now. It's like they're very disparate kind of behaviors. So it makes sense to me that like, the NFTs aren't just going to go crazy during that kind of event. But you see the markets rebound. It's sort of like the world keeps spinning to some extent. We're a very desensitized population, just humans, I feel, especially with technology and everything. And, people are just going to go back to trading NFTs. And especially as the markets rebound, like the traditional stock market's good for NFTs. I know like if coins really start running, that's not great for NFTs. Like flat is sort of the best scenario for NFTs. And I think there's still like a lot of uncertainty in the near term as to which direction these prices of coins or NFTs or whatever it's going to go. So I think it's a good reminder to keep some cash aside or some WETH ideally, because like on days like yesterday, where there's like a lot of fear and there's not a lot of buyers out there, you can get through WETH bids on something, and you can basically get like a rare in a collection you've been eyeing for a deal, where other days, like when things are running, you're not going to have that shot. So it's good to keep dry powder for days like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great tip, and I want to amplify the note. When the markets were bleeding yesterday, we also had some of the top influencers just kind of screaming bear market at the top of their lungs, talking the worst case scenario of, NFT liquidity going to zero right away. And of course that's not what happened. But I think my takeaway from yesterday was just a recheck on overall portfolio management and strategy. And are we ready for, a 3 to 6 month bear market that comes, really quickly up upon us? And I think the answer is probably not, right, for the most part. So I wanted to spend a couple minutes maybe just talking bear market strategies. You mentioned one, having some dry powder ready. That's always a good one.
Yep.
I think one top of my list in general is just having your high conviction plays and then your lower conviction short-term plays with the right percent allocations in your portfolio. I think it's always fine, to chase the hot projects, the shorter term plays, if you understand that that's what you're doing. But I know I took a look at my portfolio yesterday as things were red and immediately started looking at, okay, well, I probably over allocated here, need to trim this back down a bit. Because overall, we kind of make fun of punks and some of the other blue chips on the show, but in an ultimate bear market, I'd probably be more confident holding a CryptoPunk than just about any other NFT. But I'm curious for your take and if you had any reactions to your portfolio management.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. That's how I like to trade, is the short term, mid-term, long-term kind of buckets. For me, some of my bear market strategy, I really like buying a lot of pieces of older, really cheap sets, and then just hoping that they can catch some heat and go on a run at some point. Bear market, I don't think it's necessarily bad for them, right? If they're already at 0.05 or whatever, they're not getting heat in this market, and then it's kind of people aren't getting that punished, right? You don't have as many salty or angry people, and then those are the sort of things that could run coming out of it. In terms of punks, yeah, I think they're very safe in the long term. I think it doesn't really interest me. It would just be too high a percent of my active trading that I don't really have an interest in allocating to a punk. I think if you're
Sure.
If you're a wealthy guy that just wants exposure to crypto and doesn't want to be active, I think a punk is a great way. I think once you reach a certain level of crypto wealth, it makes sense to get a punk if you like it. I would take punk over Bored Ape, for example, because the owners are just much wealthier on average. I'm speculating, but a lot of people ran it up huge on apes, whereas punks typically were wealthy from other crypto endeavors. To there's not a lot of people where the punk is 90% of their net worth, whereas in apes there's a few of the stories like that. So
yeah, I think that's spot on. I think we saw some of that yesterday, and actually I'm going to quickly show a thread from OSF NFT. He is comes from a traditional trading background. Now him alongside with Mando are doing a lot in the NFT space. He posted a nice thread on handling bear market scenarios. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I thought it was interesting because he has a personal story where his P&L went from being up 10 million to down 5 million in one single day. So that's some real life swing experience there. And he has some tips, go outdoors, go for a walk, take a pen and paper to write down your exposure. I think one of the biggest ones is, you kind of alluded to it with the Bored Apes, but if you need the funds to pay for your bills or any of your primary needs, then absolutely you should be taking some off the table, because we never know when or how quickly a bear market could come upon us. So I think that's step number one. And then he kind of goes on, say, if now we're talking with folks who have the money that they're afraid to lose, his point is essentially rotating into your higher conviction positions. So I thought it was a good thread. We'll link it in the show notes as well. One thing we got to come back to that's tied into all of this is the great delisting that's actively happening right now. It started happening this morning.
So that guy, by the way, has an alpha group where Tyler and I both have the degens and regens get you into that Discord. You just need one of them. So they're cheaper than a lot of the other alpha groups out there for people of that stature. So just FYI.
And 19% of the supply got delisted.
Yeah.
Today. So on that note, we knew the OpenSea migration was happening today. I thought it was 2 p.m. Eastern But I don't know if it started
I think it was
earlier.
just an estimate. I think it started and it rolls out through. They said it was going to be a few hours or something total.
So we've already seen the impact. So I'm taking a look at the top dashboard on the Flips Finance, and the purple is the decreased listings. And universally, 100% of the projects have seen delistings.
You know what I really want to see, and I'll probably dig into that this afternoon, is the delistings followed by the relistings, right? Like, so which projects are people just rushing, like, I got to get out of this and slam a bunch of listings up? Which projects are like, maybe people are, I'm just going to diamond hand this now, you know? So I think that's a pretty interesting metric on some of these older sets. You might be able to find like, oh, like a lot of these people might be more diamond handed now, which is better for the collection. You don't want all these people rushing the list. So I'm curious to see how that's going to look.
It's going to be a really interesting weekend. I think this is a more important event than a lot of folks have given some credence to. So certainly like the older collections, ones that are at lower price points, I can certainly see 20% of listings coming off the board and then not coming back on. So now you've got massive supply shock. I can tell you right now, like I'm going away for the weekend. I'm absolutely not going to come back on and list 300 NFTs this weekend. So like it's going to be days for me that NFTs that I previously had listed are going to be out of the supply essentially. And I'm pretty confident I'm not the only one. So I think we'll certainly see some of that in the lower traction sets. You know, in your top highest liquidity sets like BAYC, Azuki's, it might be a smaller event. I guess the other piece of this is Trezor users and Lattice users are having difficulty with the upgrade, even listing their NFTs from what I understand.
Yeah, Trezor I don't think works with OpenSea now. It doesn't work with Looks Rare. It works on X2Y2, as far as I know.
So that's another significant chunk of potential supply out there. I mean, those are non-trivial.
Yeah, that's a lot of people have that.
So I don't know. We'll be watching. It's going to be hard to predict exactly what's going to happen here, but it's going to make for an interesting weekend for sure. All right, we're 10 minutes in. Let's move on. I want to quickly get your thoughts on Invisible Friends. And this was likely the singular most hyped NFT drop that we've had so far, at least in the 2 years or a year and a half since I've kind of been
legitimate hype for sure. Like Mechaverse was obviously just very fake. Yeah, I think it's cool. Marcus, the Invisible Friends creator, has a 20 whatever year track record in the animation industry. DK, who we've covered on this show, who is a what he sold his one last one for like 200 ETH or something really high. He's like, Marcus is an inspiration to me. Like, he was showing a ton of love. They look cool. There's only 5,000 instead of 10,000, and the price sort of reflects that, right? You don't see 9 pre-reveal very often. Hape and Mechaverse are the only 2 that got up there that I can remember, and they were both junk basically. Yeah, I don't think this is junk though. I think this is probably going to do pretty well. So the one of one went for like 500 ETH or something.
Yeah, so that was certainly a smart decision to have that auction right before the drop, because it created max hype right out of the gate. We saw sale prints 12 ETH, 13 ETH, 15 ETH, I think was the highest I saw for just like a standard floor. We saw some lower serials trading a little bit above that, which kind of makes sense. My question to you is, we had a huge macro event take place yesterday. The floor is holding at 9 ETH with 11,000 ETH traded. Is this a win for holders? Should they feel good, or should they feel worried that it's dropped from kind of 11 ETH where it was holding on midday?
No, I'd feel good. I mean, the price was 0.25, right? For the people that got in, and people got in various ways. Like, one of my friends, he won a fan art contest, right? So it's like really good for him. He's super happy that his he put a lot of work in. His piece was cool, and he won it. And so 0.25. So if he's in for 0.25, is he really, it's only 9 instead of 11? You're not gonna care. it's only maybe the people that bought in at 12 or 13, but then that's your fault too for aping in. Like, you know, I don't see how you could be unhappy with a 9 ETH pre-reveal. Like, if you are, I would say you're being greedy.
Yeah, I would agree. I actually don't know when the reveal is. I imagine my prediction is it probably chops here. It might spike a little bit in the hours right before the reveal. I think certainly there's a holder base that's likely holding for the shot at a rare, and we'll see some increased sell pressure. But I mean, is this one going to follow the same price arc that Hape and Mecca did, where they go down to 2 within a matter of weeks?
No, I don't think so. I might go to 5 or 6 or something, and that's like in barring like other macro kind of events.
Sure.
But yeah, I would be surprised. I think the reveal is going to go much better. I think Hape and Mecca were both incredibly disappointing reveals compared to like the marketing campaign that was put into place. I don't think this is going to, I think this will break that trend. I don't know how crazy it's going to get, especially because, you know, you can't have an animated PFP in a lot of places yet. They do have like a PFP generator for your piece here. So you can get like a high res photo, but still not the same as like flexing your walking invisible friend on Twitter, right? I do think that makes a difference for the animated sets, and like you might see 20 ETH if they somehow launch that this weekend, which they're not going to. But yeah, I think these will hold up fine. The rares, it's a tough gamble. I think there's only 5 1-of-1s out of 5,000. So like, I don't know if I'd be worried about taking that gamble. It's probably worth a ton if you hit, but if not, you know, most of the time you're probably going to lose some money.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. So I think we covered it. Certainly we'll be watching for reveal, and we'll be covering that on the show too. Next story, I want to talk the Punks. Massive disappointment at Sotheby's. I don't really know what to call it. So that the auction was live. People were in, like, this was an in-person live auction. There were people in the room. We were both on the stream waiting for this to start. It was delayed, and then the announcer came on and said the seller has withdrawn the lot, and they closed the thing down. So I want to pull back because this whole story is important to expose, you know, this actor and how egregious his actions have been. So on February 8th, he makes this big thread how he's excited to announce my partnership to elevate punks through Sotheby's. Also, this guy, like 6 months before this, said he was never going to sell. Now he's, you know, famously trying to sell at Sotheby's, and then he reverses decision again, makes these egregious tweets, comes out right afterwards and says, never mind, decided to hodl, then makes 2 very poor attempts at memes here. One regarding the Yale endowment, and then this one taking punks mainstream by selling on Sotheby's, taking punks mainstream by rugging Sotheby's. So I don't know, this guy is maybe one of the single biggest risks to punks right now in the short term. What's your take on all this?
Yeah, this guy's a clown. I mean, first off, he said, I'm selling all my punks in one lot to spread awareness to the CryptoPunks community, to the greater world. It doesn't make sense. You're dumping your whole bag. Why would you care about the CryptoPunks awareness, right? You're just trying to get out. No big deal. Don't make up a ton of stuff like people are morons. The average person that's interested in buying a CryptoPunk is pretty far from a moron. Nobody's falling for this. Honestly, it seems like a teenager, which, like, it's unlikely that a teenager was able to buy 104 punks, but like the rugging it and then making like I rug Sotheby's memes. Like, I don't like this guy. I think he's a clown. Yeah,
and like let's just quickly, it doesn't make sense to sell 104 CryptoPunks in one block. If someone has those
with a 10% buyer premium for the auction house.
Of course, so any savvy buyer that has that level of funds can go and pick out the ones they want off the floor with 0 fees on Larva Labs site. So it never really made sense. You know, I think Sotheby's is also implicated in this a bit for kind of allowing this to go on, knowing that this was likely the outcome. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm very curious what happens with these 104 now. Clearly, this owner doesn't want them, so he's going to have to figure out the sell path, and no one's going to want to buy from him either. So we'll see. On the In the blue chip category, though, I just saw this tweet this morning. We have to talk about it. So Andrew Kang, has a huge following in the NFT space, 90,000. He tweeted yesterday evening, Ape airdrop projections, and they are, it's a spicy take. So he did a few projections at 30% to be AYC and AYC holders, and then 50%. And he breaks it down for each, along with a few different fully diluted.
Don't the dogs get tokens too?
Yeah. So putting those aside, I think he's assuming that that's going to be a much smaller percent. And he's also assuming a 2-to-1 ratio. These are some headline catching numbers. So he's saying on the low end, 60,000 airdrop.
4-to-1 ratio from ape to mutant.
Okay.
Just looking at this sheet.
Yeah. And I did.
I was like 2-to-1. That can't be right.
Maybe token allocation versus token price, but regardless, some huge numbers. So I think the anticipation for this token drop couldn't really be much higher. Of course, no one has any idea what it's actually going to be, and I can imagine it's going to be this large of a chunk right out of the gate. There's going to have to be some, tokens coming out over time. I think what also crossed my mind here is that there almost has to be a time held component of this, because someone who just buys a mutant the day before the drop and then sells it the next day, right? There's no way they can get this big of a reward, right?
The floor is going to crash like 80% if they give out. I'm not even joking. I wouldn't be surprised at that. If they, maybe not that high, but 60, if they gave the whole token at once, I don't think that makes sense, right? Wouldn't they have like a staking or some sort of hey, you get a third of what you're going to get right now, and then like you can stake your ape or do something, and earn the rest of it. Right. Makes way more sense than just giving it all out at once. There was also rumors that any ape holder, and I'm hoping for this as a former ape holder, will get like some slice, right? They're going to give out, if you've ever had an ape, you're going to get some slice or a mutant or whatever, which I think would be cool. Like, I'd be happy with any amount, right? And so you get a lot of goodwill from people that were in that ecosystem that might feel a little FOMO about being left out. And it's like, I would never be like, oh, you didn't give me enough, right? I sold mine in like June. I would be happy with anything. So, and then you have the dogs, okay? And then I feel like this is ridiculous. I don't, like, if these are this is conservative scenarios, like,
talking through it, it feels more aggressive than conservative. What I will say, though, and I saw some of the replies. I didn't go through the comments in the thread, but like the very first one from Stocked here is that's some optimism on the FDV at 5 billion. That part I actually disagree with. It looks rare to hit a $7 billion FDV.
Yeah,
just a few weeks ago. A lot
of that was staking rewards, right? So that's the other thing. Bored Apes, American company, unless they incorporate it overseas or whatever, but they're Americans. And looks rare as like anonymous offshore team, right? They can be a lot more aggressive with the sort of tokenomics, and then a ton of those, the FDV was staking rewards. So if Bored Apes gonna have that with where you've staking, like, you know what I mean? Or like they also sold to VCs supposedly. The team's gonna keep some. They're gonna keep some for like growth. Like this world of like the apes just get like a free headshot of the price of the ape out of the sky, and then it's very liquid and everyone's buying, is fantasy land to me. Like, these things already ran up massive in anticipation of this.
These are some high numbers for sure. 333,000 per ape on the high end. So
that's ridiculous. Like, you're still going to have the ape, you know what I mean? Like the apes would be going for $1 million if you were going to get a 333 K airdrop out of them.
Of course, but the reality is no one knows. It's all just guesswork and projections, but it is fun to talk about. Let's go ahead and move on to our rotating segments. I want to take a look at the Flips Finance board and take a look at the 7-day view here. So it's an interesting 7-day board. So we've got some big winners up top in green, and then essentially the rest is all down 6 to 10% or so. So we see the three top projects, Three Landers, Tubby Cats, and Invisible Friends. They combine here for about 30,000 ETH across them. I think that tells the story of the week right there. It's three brand new projects came in.
You could throw MFers in there
30,000.
too.
I'll come back to MFers, but
Wow.
these three new projects did 30,000 ETH. So where did that money come from? And that's why almost all the other blue chips were 6 to 10% down on the week. Is my read on that, and it was folks who are holding projects that have already 2 to 4x and decided to sell to chase the shiny new object, and that's my read on the theme for the week. No discount to MFers in that.
Yeah.
Who also had just a tremendous week here, up 42%.
And they ran up to 6, I think, peaked around there.
They did. When they were running up to 6, it looked like they couldn't be stopped, and we all thought they were going straight to 10, which is what a lot of folks have been touting as their target price.
Tubby Cats is bad for MFers, sort of, because it's another crypto Twitter type of project where you could get 10 Tubby Cats or one MFer. That to me, that's like too big of a discrepancy. No disrespect to MFers, but like my trading style is I'll take the 10 Tubby Cats over the one MFer. And if it were flipped, it would be I'd take the 10 MFers.
Definitely. And that logic makes total sense to me. I also want to talk a little bit about Tubby Cats. So transparently, I hold several of these, not financial advice, all that. So when this collection came out, I kind of saw right away how crypto Twitter, like you mentioned, kind of took these to storm. I didn't really get it at first. I thought that was kind of the whole thesis for me. It was like, oh, crypto Twitter could pump this. But then the more time I spent with the collection, I think the meme value for this set is absolutely off the charts. I think the meme power is better in Tubby Cats than MFers. MFers is all essentially the same thing, same meme. Whereas all the different characters with different traits and poses, they're great for like reaction shots. The more you go through the set, like you can find a Tubby Cat to react to 50 different tweets in different ways. So that was a huge indicator for me, a reason why I like the set. And then the time this went into this. So the dev published a thread. I think you commented on this, but there's extreme coordination in the color scheme.
I love that.
And the traits in this set. I'd say more so than we typically see. Definitely more so than just your typical 10K cash grabs.
A lot of the times the traits are random. Here it's like the background. So many of these Tubby Cats, they'll only have like 2 colors in the you can see kind of here in the bottom, there's the purple one, there's the green ones. So the colors go together, the traits go together. It's a well thought out set. I got a couple of these myself. I actually the price action reminds me a lot of Toads and MFers out of the gate, where there was like this initial hype and then like potentially like a longer cooling off period where people get bored, followed by like an extreme run, which that's the part that has yet to be determined. But I might be depending where this floor goes, I'm buying here before I'm selling, so I'm going to watch this. I might look to grab a couple more, because again, when all of crypto Twitter is behind these to some extent, it's not a guarantee, but like I'll bet on that kind of crew over the alternative.
Yeah, I agree and fully with you. I think 2 risks just for listeners and viewers. 1, crypto Twitter sentiment can change on a dime. We've seen that.
100%.
So that's always a risk. And then the risk of a meme asset, right? So as I was thinking yesterday morning when the whole board was read, which of my collections are going to perform, the worst in a bear market, I don't think the meme projects are going to hold up that well compared to some of the other projects that have 30-person teams running their projects like companies. That's not meant to snub, Tubby Cat specifically, but that whole sector, right? I don't think MFers will perform well.
Plus 20K, when things go bad in a 20K set, they could go really bad because you're going to have double the sellers. And if there's not buyers, which we see in a bear market, typically the problem with a bear market is there's no buyers. You've got double the sellers and still no buyers. So that could get ugly quick in a bad scenario.
Yeah. Look, check these out. Do your own research. we got to quickly touch three landers. I don't know if you follow this product. It wasn't really on my radar because I want to hear from you. This 4 is 2.6. It's the winner. It's probably the winner of the week, 17,000 ETH. Can you tell us a little bit about it, like what you know about it? Because I honestly don't know much.
So I don't know, but the same guy who won the Invisible Friends one won a three landers for his fan art also. So that's how I know it. I'm following him, Mr. Foud, great artist, by the way, out of Laos. And so I knew it from there. I saw his fan art, which was cool. Like, they look cool. They built the community or whatever. But again, this is the kind of thing for me where I'm not just hopping on like a new project at 2 ETH, right? Or if I were, you know, it's it's not I don't know enough about it. Yeah.
Very, very fair.
Not for me.
It's definitely one that I need to spend more time with, because anytime the floor shoots up to 2.6 here in the first week of trading, it grabs my attention.
Yeah, post reveal too. It dipped a bit, I think. It was something, and then it shot up.
So we'll definitely look to report back on that one. Trying to see if there's any other notable ones. Webland had a big week, up 64%, trailing NFT Worlds. NFT Worlds had, the huge explosion. Their floor up at 16. I think we're going to see that whole metaverse sector move up a bit as long as NFT Worlds can hold that high before. We saw a bit of that this past week as well. All right, so that's really the board. Let's take a look. Just want to touch on one-on-ones here, a couple stories. So we're going to start with Grant Yoon. He goes by Riven Ribbon on Twitter, but I think this is one of the hallmark sales here of the week. This piece is called Midnight in Japan. He has the tagline here: many are still awake and are getting ready for bed. The story here is it's his new all-time high. Son of a Beach 23 picked us up for 14.5 ETH, almost $40,000, as Grant continues to kind of march upwards in the floor prices that he is commanding for his pieces. So shout out to Grant. That is a very nice sale there. And then maybe a cooler story is Alpha Centauri Kid, friend of the show. He tweeted yesterday evening, I know shit's fucked right now, but I'm an artist at the core. I'm going to make an edition of 10 on the internet somewhere, free to mint if you can figure out the URL. And then his hint was blank.ack.art. And then, of course, internet sleuths were able to find this one, and it got minted out pretty quick. I'm showing the piece here. It's called Utility. My read on this is the character holding the big dagger, or what you would call that weapon, is the Muse. He seems to have cut someone's head off. And that's the utility of the Muse for this piece. And they've been selling kind of like hotcakes. So we've already seen 3 sales above 2 ETH. The floor is sitting at 5. I think that might be partially tied to the OpenSea delisting issue, but it's an addition to 10.
No, I don't think so, because this is new, right? So if you've listed in the last week,
good point,
or whatever, you're on the new contract.
Great point. So this price actually makes sense because of the edition size. So ACK has a few other editions out there. Those have typically, the higher editions like 50 to 100 are kind of sitting somewhere between 2 and 4 ETH floor price. So this is 10 to 20% the size of that. So 5 is probably the right price out of the gate, kind of based on his other edition sets. I think it's a cool piece. And
there is actually utility. Is funny, the name. There is some utility here, I believe, from following him on Twitter, being in the Discord. He has a PFP, or I'm not sure if it's a PFP drop, but he has a drop coming, like a larger size, not like even an edition, coming in like April-ish, I think. I don't think there's a date, but somewhere around there. And owning any of his pieces will get you access. I believe it's gonna be 1 ETH. He's like, it's not cheap, but if you have any piece of his and an ETH, you can get this new drop, which I'm not sure if it's PFP, but it's some sort of it's a larger set. Yeah, like a larger generative set. So great. I have his rare Pepe, his fake rare Pepe, nice, that I'm holding basically for the for like obviously there's a price, but like if I probably wouldn't sell it for like less than 4 ETH they're going for like 2. So I'll just hold it into his drop is my plan.
Yeah, I have a few pieces as well holding. Definitely planning to hold ACK long term. I think he's going to be one of the top crypto artists from this time period. All right, let's quickly go through some one of ones. Take a look at the floors at WGMI. Sorry, let's take a look at talk some floors here, PFPs and art blocks. Taking a look at WGMI.io. So Bored Apes, they bounced back. They're sitting at 89 ETH floor, down about 5% on the week. CyberKong's in second there at 88, up 24% on the week. Punks, rough week, still trending down after the Sotheby's news, sitting at 63. Let's keep going down here. Mutant Apes at 18.3, basically even on the week. CloneX at 14, basically even. Doodles at 12.5. That's down on the week. It's actually surprising to me because they got below 10. So a nice bounce back here today. Similar story for Azuki. Suzuki's dropped to below 10 yesterday and now back up to 12.4, still down about 10% on the week. And then we've got Cool Cats. I actually haven't been following super closely. I want to say the game still hasn't come out yet.
I think it's like indefinitely delayed. It's unfortunate, but every single stage of this Cool Pets drop has had a pretty big delay, from claiming, allow list, public sale, game mechanics, token. It's all not gone great. So I think these could continue to fall. You know, I would like, the game looks cool if they could pull it off, but that's an if, obviously.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think I would expect a little bit more slow bleeding there from Cool Cats, especially as new projects come out that are hyped. I want to switch gears and talk art blocks. And this is interesting in our whole bear market prep theme. So Fidenzas are holding at 69.5, up 16% on the week. We've got Ringers at 41, basically even on the week. Oh, I missed Elevated Deconstruction sitting at 60, up 33% on the month. A few others here that I'll cover. Archetypes at 14, they're up 22% on the week. Subscapes at 9.5, they're up a bit. And then where are the squiggles at here? Squiggles at 7.5, down about 13% on the week. So the reason I think these are interesting is I think we've been pretty blunt on the show that we're not real big fans of all the unlimited generative art and the new products that are coming out. With that being said, I think some of the Grail art blocks projects will likely hold up the best of anything during a bear market, a longer bear market scenario. You know, things like Fidenzas, Ringers, Squiggles, right, are things I would probably sleep the best at night with compared to some of the other, you know, PFPs that are kind of hot right now, but we don't know how they'll survive a bear. What's your take on what I just said?
Part of it depends on like the collector base. Like yesterday, somebody tried to dunk. The highest ringer sale was 2,100 ETH. So somebody was like, does this guy regret it? You know, the floor is 40 now or whatever. And then Vincent Vandel was like, the guy's a multi-billionaire. He spent 40 million on a piece of art before. I can guarantee you he doesn't care, and he probably doesn't even know where the floor is on this thing. Like, there's different levels to this game, man, as Meek Mill would say. And so it depends on a set. Like, you get I think the older something is on art blocks too, there's more time for a set to sort of find its way into diamond hands, right? A newer project is going to be, right, there's more flippers, there's more short-term sentiment. So I do think there's going to be some winners amongst this art blocks landscape long term. I mean, obviously, like Fidenza's at 70, I think you can call that a winner already. Ringers too, but even from some of the cheaper stuff, you know, there's diamonds in the rough out there that it's still very early to this game, man. The whole NFT game, the amount of people in this space, like if you have a 5-10 year time horizon, like some of these wealthy people that are you know, the billion, if you're a multi-billionaire, you're not looking to sell your ringer because you need liquidity to like pay off your like DeFi thing that went wrong, you know? So
yeah, exactly. I think summarizing that and putting it back, do I think a ringer at 41 ETH is a good buy for the next 30 days? You know, probably not. Are you going to be able to flip it for more than that in 30 days? Is it a good buy for 3 to 5 year time horizon? Probably. So I think that's generally my stance on the higher end and established art blocks. All right, enough with art blocks. We're going to end the show talking about a few upcoming drops. So I'm going to start with Turf. Turf is a metaverse project. Also, transparently, that I own several of. I like this team. I like what they're doing. So they launched a series of virtual plots for the Turf metaverse. Then they did a Dutch auction for power generator NFT plots that the proceeds all went to an environmental charity. And then yesterday they announced a Ukrainian charity NFT drop. It's called the Turf Object, and 100% of the proceeds will go to support the people of Ukraine that we found out. So they announced this on a Twitter Spaces yesterday, and then I believe I wasn't on this, but I believe they hinted to some real utility and benefit to owning this in the Ultraverse. So I thought this was definitely a cool idea. It's going to be there's still 2 more days left in the sale. It ends Sunday afternoon, it looks like. We've got about 15 have sold so far out of the set of 200. So this will get really interesting, I think, as well, near the end of the auction. If there's only going to be 20 or 30 of these out there, the utility might be even more valuable.
Yeah, I'm in Turf. I might grab one of these. I'm going to watch again till it's closer to the end. But by all accounts, it's a good team that we're happy to bet on.
I think putting the charity. So I bought 2 of these yesterday. Putting the charity component aside, I think this is a good play just from a utility standpoint. So the floor for Turf is above 0.5. Is it 0.6 or so this morning? This is a fairly limited set size, and I firmly believe the founders will reward the folks who put their funds towards this. Just my 2 cents. Let's take a look at the Lucky Trader project schedule for a few other upcoming drops. So there's an NFL all day drop today. I know I haven't really been following NFL all day, but you have. How have the drops been going for you? Do you think there's still plus Eve for folks to go after, or what's your take in general? I think we may have lost your sound, Brett.
Sorry, I muted because I was going to sneeze, but then I couldn't sneeze. I think that I just click buttons. Like, I don't do the deep research. I have Dapper Balance, so it's like whatever, I'll buy it. But like the NBA Top Shot, I didn't even bother with because it's just like you just get like it's all junk a lot of the time unless you hit it rare or whatever. Yeah, I'm in there. It was plus EV for me because I got a legendary, which was like a 1% shot in one of the NFL drops. So I mean, I haven't sold it, but like that should be worth like at least a couple K on a $250 pack, which covers basically my entire expense on all of the NFL all day. There's not that much supply though. For this is the first year of the NFL product. Like, if this does become a big thing, because they started it like week 13 with a small beta set of users. So it's like it's not like they've had a full season of a full user base cranking out content. So for this year, I think it's worth just clicking buy and like come back next year and see where it's at.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good advice. Then the last drop is Parallel Drop 3.
Is that tomorrow?
Tomorrow afternoon at 4:00. I think Lucky Trader toggles for your time zone, so I believe that's 4 p.m. Central.
So 2 Pacific.
Don't quote me on that.
I'll look it up. Yeah, I mean, historically, these have been like the freest of money. It's obviously coming down the more people become aware of it, and then also Parallel, kind of the hype peaked last fall, whereas it's they still don't have a game out, so it's people are kind of like it's been a year of hype, but I will be very surprised if they're definitely plus EV. You might get a losing pack, I guess, if you got how many cards do you get? 10 cards in each pack for 0.075. Yeah, you can't lose money, I don't think.
Yeah. So definitely check that one out.
Buy these if you're watching this.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty highly anticipated. I think the last one sold out incredibly quickly. But yeah, if you can get through likely some money to be made.
And you have insane lottery upside. One of my friends got 120 ETH
Wow.
masterpiece
It
was back when you had tiers of packs, and they got it in the mid tier. It wasn't even like the rarest pack. Now again, it's crashed, but it's still at least 50 ETH for a masterpiece. I haven't looked at the recent sales. Last I saw, it was even over 100 ETH floor, but like obviously that's not likely. But I do like that small like lottery chance, especially when all the packs historically are very good too. Like the floor on Parallel might be 0.01, right? And you're getting 10 for 0.075. So
right,
like worst case,
you're covered downside
is like a small profit, I would say, maybe break even if things crash. You know, it's easily worth it.
Yep. So check those out. I think those are the primary upcoming drops just for the next few days on my radar. Of course, the Invisible Friends reveal, whenever that is going to be a huge event.
I think it might be Monday or something, early next week. I'm not positive.
So we'll cover that. And then Azuki's is doing a fractional that I think could be pretty heavily anticipated as well. So we'll talk about that more next week. Brett, I think that's it for today. Anything else on your list?
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you as always for joining us. Thanks to our listeners and viewers for tuning in today. We will be back next Friday, just once a week here this month. Both Brett and myself to recap the week in NFTs. Till then, stay safe out there.
Cheers.
That was good.